My name is Amanda, and I currently live with my in-laws, Ben and Susan.
Can't you even clean properly? Having a young wife with no common sense is just a burden on us.
Susan says things like this from morning till night every day. At first, she would pretend to talk to herself, but made sure I could hear it. Lately, she says it right to my face without hesitation.
You really are useless.
My sister-in-law, Jessica, is just the same. She bullies me with the same face and tone as Susan. She wasn't like this before we got married. Before we got married, both Susan and Jessica told me, "From now on, we'll be family, so don't hesitate to say anything." That's right. I'm so happy to have a new sister. I have no parents. Both of them passed away in an accident when I was 5 years old, and I was placed in an orphanage before being adopted. My adoptive mother was very kind and raised me without any difficulties, but I still felt a hollow inside me that couldn't be filled. Even when I reached 21, that feeling didn't change. I began to think that maybe I couldn't understand what love was, that I might be missing something important. That's why I started thinking I shouldn't get married. But then I met Jack, and for the first time, I felt something warm inside me. So when Susan and Jessica spoke kind words to me, I thought maybe I could fill the void in my heart by being with them. I had no hesitation about living together. But from the moment we started living together, everything changed. Susan and Jessica began treating me like a maid, speaking to me harshly. Of course, I tried to talk to Jack about it several times.
Mom and Jessica don't mean any harm. You're just a bit too negative, so you take it the wrong way. You need to be more positive like Mom and Jessica.
He just said the usual lines. From an outsider's perspective, being passive and crying all the time like me must seem frustrating. It's not like Susan and Jessica are superior to me, so it's better to snap back at them for my own good. I thought so too. Someone with a strong will would have snapped back sooner, and someone smart would have found a solution. But since childhood, I've had a habit of reading adults' moods, and when they scolded me, I would shrink back. Maybe it's because of my upbringing, but I always feared being disliked and kicked out, so I swallow my frustration even when it's unfair. But it doesn't mean I can tolerate it. I just keep bottling it up, becoming more and more bitter. It frustrates me, but changing is difficult. My heart was close to breaking just 6 months after our wedding. It's obvious that just worrying won't solve anything, and the actions of Susan and Jessica were escalating day by day. Then one day, Jack's younger sister Emma came home to visit. She's much younger than Jack, and despite her cute appearance, she's straightforward and has a good heart. She's kind to me too. But Jack and Jessica seem uncomfortable around her. Amanda, you've lost some weight. Did Mom and Jessica say something mean to you again? When I gave a forced smile to Jessica, she said, "What are you talking about? What do we ever do to you?" Well, both you and Mom have always been like that. You act nice in front of my brother, but you're just nasty behind his back. My brother is clueless, so I get worried. Mind your own business. I'm just trying to educate you as your older sister. Wow, how condescending. By the way, are you still unemployed? I just haven't found a job that matches my abilities. Feeling attacked, Jessica's face turned red and she stormed off to her room. Jessica has been jobless since she graduated from college. She helps with housework, but she doesn't actually do much. Occasionally, she works at the same place as Susan's part-time job, but it's only once or twice a month, so it's not really work. On the other hand, Emma has lived on her own since college and now works for a top company. I'm sorry, but from the way Jessica just acted now, I can guess what's going on in this house. Don't worry, I'm staying here tonight, so I'll handle them. What do you mean, handle them? Don't worry. Jack is working late tonight, so dinner is just me, Susan, Jessica, and Emma, making for an awkward situation. As usual, Susan and Jessica started bullying me during dinner. You still can't make anything decent, can you? When are you going to learn our family's taste? If Dad was here, he'd say he couldn't eat such awful food. Poor Jack marrying a wife like this. You didn't grow up with your mother's cooking, so this is the best you can do. At that moment, Emma, who had been quietly eating beside me, spoke up. Our family's taste was mostly instant or store-bought food, though. Dad never complained and he never lost his temper over it. What are you talking about? You left this family, so stay out of it. It's because you've never had a proper job. That's not relevant now. What's your problem? I'm just trying to teach Amanda who can't even clean properly. How can you complain about cleaning when your room is a mess? It must be because you've never had a proper job. Maybe that's why you push all the housework onto Amanda and then complain about it. Enough! You've always been so mouthy. I don't care about your complaints. While Emma calmly repeated the same words, the two of them were furious, their faces red with anger. Get out! Talking to you is driving me crazy. Seriously, every time you come home, you just stir up trouble. How dare you take her side over your own family? That's because I'm the one who works, pays taxes, and takes care of myself. And I don't go around being mean to people just because I don't like them. As Susan and Jessica were shouting, Jack came home looking bewildered by the tense atmosphere at the dinner table. Oh, Emma, you're back. Jack, listen to me. Emma blocked her path as she rushed toward Jack and stood in front of him. What's up, Emma? Hey, Jack, have you really not noticed what these two are doing to Amanda? What are you talking about? How could you not see that your wife is getting skinnier and skinnier? I mean... Don't say things like that. As Jessica yelled from the side, Emma briefly glared at her before turning back to Jack with a stern look. Were you just ignoring it? You can't say you didn't notice. You've always been like that. You saw Mom giving things only to Jessica and nothing to me. You saw the other nasty things she did too, but you never said anything because it was easier that way. You think what these two are doing to Amanda is just a squabble between women? It's not. But Mom and Jessica, they're just looking out for Amanda. Really? If you don't believe me, listen to this. With that, Emma held up her phone in front of her brother's face. The phone played a recording of Susan and Jessica bullying me earlier that day. What is this? How dare you record us? Without proof, nothing can be done. Listen to this, Jack. This is what they said to Amanda. This is what your beloved mom and sister have been doing to your wife. Jack was stunned as he listened, and Emma turned to me and said, I'll talk to them tonight alone, so please stay at my place tonight. I'll contact you in the morning. I hesitated, but she reassured me. Don't worry. The one who I really need to talk to is my brother. If he had faced you properly from the beginning, none of this would have happened. Emma gently guided me outside, shielding me from Susan and Jessica's angry glares, and put me in a taxi. While I was grateful to her, I also felt ashamed of myself for being so powerless. The next day, I'm sorry about last night. Did you sleep well? Everything is fine now. My stupid brother is completely devastated, but I gave him a good scolding. From now on, if anything happens, come to me immediately. When I returned to my in-laws' house, Susan and Jessica were waiting for me at the door, looking furious. How dare you humiliate us? That's right. Being disowned by my own sister is the ultimate insult, and it's all your fault. But Jack is still on our side. Jack was so angry this morning before he left for work that he said he wouldn't forgive you. Their anger was even more intense than the day before, and the little hope I had quickly turned to fear. Come with us. They grabbed my arms, dragged me inside, and threw me to the center of the room. Look! As Susan instructed, I looked at the table and saw a divorce paper lying there. We downloaded it this morning. Jack's part is already filled out, so sign it now. Is this really filled out by Jack himself? Of course! We don't need a wife who's so rebellious. My daughter and I both agree on that. Last night, I just pretended to listen to Emma because it was too much trouble to argue, but no matter how I think about it, I'm not satisfied. Was Jack really okay with this? Did he really sign this himself? My mind was a mess, and I couldn't even recall what his handwriting looked like. Why are you hesitating? Hurry up and sign it! And don't expect any alimony. You useless and humiliated us by using Emma against us. If anything, we should be asking for compensation. That's right. We'll let you off the hook if you just sign the papers and cut ties with Jack. I'll call Jack and confirm this. I finally managed to force the words out, reaching into my bag for my phone, but Jessica quickly snatched it away. Didn't I tell you? Jack feels the same way as we do, so there's no need to confirm anything. Just sign it already. Jessica forcibly pressed a pen into my hand and pushed it onto the divorce paper. With them on either side of me, I had no choice but to sign my part with trembling hands. Well done. Let's go submit it right away. Get up. They forcefully pushed me into a taxi they had waiting and took me to the town hall where they made me submit the divorce papers in front of them. Finally, we're officially done with you. What a relief. Now the three of us can live happily together. By the way, you don't have a home to go back to, do you? Because you're an orphan. But that's not our problem. After all, orphans are hopeless. No manners, no common sense. It was a complete waste of time living with you, but at least we're done with you now. Really, orphans are just good for nothing. Too bad you have nowhere to go, but we'll take care of your belongings, don't worry. As their laughter faded away, I stood in front of the town hall, stunned. When I came to my senses, I realized with horror that I had actually submitted the divorce papers. Jessica took my phone. What should I do? Then suddenly, a number I had memorized popped into my head, and I hurried to a payphone, dialing with trembling fingers. The moment I heard the voice on the other end, tears started pouring down uncontrollably. The person on the phone told me to stay where I was, and about 10 minutes later, a car pulled up in front of me.
Amanda! Amanda!
The people who got out of the car were my adoptive parents. The moment I saw Emily's face, I clung to her and burst into tears. As we drove, I explained everything to them, and Emily scolded me for not contacting them sooner, but her voice was gentle, and their hands on my shoulders were warm.
We can't let this go. It's our turn to step in.
Yes, indeed. They made a phone call and then said, let's go, as they drove off, heading straight to my in-laws' house. Don't worry, just be confident. We're here for you. I was frozen with fear, unable to move, but Emily gently patted my back as we rang the doorbell at the in-laws' house. As soon as Brian opened the door, Jack came running, falling to his knees, apologizing to Brian.
I'm so sorry.
What are you doing? Yeah, what's going on?
Quiet.
As Susan and Jessica raised their voices, Jack silenced them, explaining that these were my adoptive parents.
These are Amanda's parents.
So what? Apologizing to your wife's parents on your knees? How pathetic.
Silence. These are not just any parents. This man is the president of the company I work for and the largest landowner in this area.
What? No way. Jack's words caused them to lose their composure. My adoptive father is indeed the president of the company where Jack works, and his word alone could easily cost Jack his job. He also owns most of the land in the area, including the land where my in-laws' house stands. This can't be true.
I told you when we got married. Didn't you listen? Of course my dad knew. Of course. I'm sorry, Jack, for having to pull you out of work. I asked your boss to send you home so we could talk. Yes, of course. This is about what my mom and sister have done to Amanda, right? I was planning to talk to you about it today. Today? Didn't your mom tell you what happened this morning? No. This morning? What are you saying?
Anyway, you all need to leave now. Susan and Jessica, suddenly realizing that they had been caught, tried to kick us out, but Emma appeared. I'm sorry I'm late.
Emma, what are you doing here?
As Susan and Jessica became even more frantic, Emma greeted Brian.
It's okay. I'm sorry to call you out for something like this. But my daughter told me that you were the only one who stood up for her, so I wanted to hear your side of the story.
Yes, sir.
Now, Jack, we shouldn't be discussing this in the entrance. Sorry for the intrusion, but may we come in?
Jack quickly invited us inside despite Susan and Jessica's protests and led us to the living room.
I'm truly sorry for my mother and sister's behavior, and I'm ashamed of myself as well. I promise to protect Amanda from now on.
As Jack apologized profusely, Brian and I exchanged puzzled looks.
Jack, do you really not know what happened this morning? What do you mean?
Now's not the time to discuss that. Susan and Jessica tried to interrupt and change the subject, but Brian silenced them.
This morning, your mother and sister forced my daughter to sign the divorce papers and submit them to the town hall.
What? Jack and Emma were both wide-eyed with shock. It seems like not only Emma, but even my husband really had no idea.
Is that true?
No, it's not like that. It was just a joke to teach her a lesson. Yeah, Amanda just signed and submitted on her own.
Enough! You did make her submit it, didn't you?
His sharp glare finally silenced them.
How could you? After everything I told you.
Tears welled up in Jack's eyes, and as he met my gaze, he looked down and clenched his fists.
After Emma called me out yesterday, I felt so ashamed of myself for not protecting my wife. I was planning to apologize to Amanda and leave this house to start over as a couple. Even when Brian called me today, I was ready to apologize and beg to start over, even if he told me it was for a divorce, because I truly love Amanda. But why? Why did you do something like that?
You've got it all wrong. I was just thinking of you. Yeah, that's right. Why are you crying? Isn't this a bit much? Susan and Jessica tried to make excuses, but Jack wouldn't even look at them. Mom? Sis? You didn't know who Amanda's parents were, did you? I thought you did and were still bullying her. I was beginning to admire your audacity. Oh, and by admire, I mean I was disgusted. You both know where I work, right? It's one of Brian's companies. But I guess Mom never really cared, and Sis, well, you've never had a job, so I guess you wouldn't know. You knew about her background, didn't you? So that's why you've been pretending to be on her side, you sneaky little thing, trying to win over her parents. What are you talking about? Amanda's background and her parents have nothing to do with this. It's your rotten personalities that made me side with Amanda. If you had known about her background, you wouldn't have treated her so badly.
So, what will you do now? The divorce papers have already been processed.
Jack looked up.
I don't want to divorce Amanda. I meant every word I said earlier. I love her with all my heart. I have no intention of using my power to control your future. Today, I wanted to talk to you as Amanda's parent. Jack, are you telling the truth? Yes, absolutely. Then, are you willing to cut ties with your mother and sister to protect my daughter? Yes.
Cut ties? You're going to abandon us? Yeah, why would you do that? Even if you're family, it's still cruel coming from a parent who isn't your own flesh and blood.
Enough!
Jack stood up, yelling at them, and firmly told Brian, I will protect Amanda.
I see. I understand how you feel. Amanda, what do you want to do?
I was happy to hear Jack's words, but I couldn't respond right away.
My daughter is in shock from everything that has happened, so she can't answer right now. Jack, if you meant what you said, come to our house tonight. Then we can talk. Understood.
Emily supported me as we left my in-laws' house. Why didn't you come to us sooner? You always keep your feelings bottled up and don't express your true thoughts. I understand you don't want to worry us, but we're your parents. It doesn't matter if we're your biological parents or not. My adoptive parents truly care for me, and I knew that since I was a child. Yet, deep down, I still felt like they were strangers, and I feared being abandoned if I upset them. I completely overlooked the love right in front of me and got caught up in thinking I was some tragic heroine daydreaming about Jack's family instead. I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. When they came to get me, I felt like all the emotions I'd been holding back suddenly burst out. I realized that my heart had been filled long ago, but I had just made the emptiness grow on my own. It was all because of my own weakness. It's okay, sweetheart. But don't forget, no matter what anyone says, we're family, okay? Mom. I cried in her arms like a child. After that, Jack truly cut ties with his family and became part of mine. Susan and Jessica were furious and kept trying to come to our house, but they were repeatedly turned away by the police. Eventually, they were arrested after breaking a window on our terrace to try and get in. With no one to bail them out, they're likely to stay in prison for a while. Amanda, I'm really sorry for everything that happened, but please don't misunderstand. I didn't treat you the way I did because of your family background. I was just furious at how my mom and Jessica were treating you. It might sound insincere coming from me, her child, but I wanted you to know. I understand, Emma. If you hadn't been there, I would have given up, and I would have divorced Jack. Anyone who doubts someone like you will have to face the consequences. I'm truly grateful to you. Thank you. Thanks to my father's support, Emma's work wasn't affected by what happened with Susan and Jessica. She continues to work hard and shine even brighter. We sometimes meet for coffee and have become good friends. Recently, I've been influenced by her and have started to express my opinions more. She's my hero, the one who woke up Jack.
Amanda, if anything happens, just tell me, okay? I've been working out lately.
He said this with a big smile holding up a bodybuilding DVD, and I couldn't help but laugh. Jack is a bit naive and maybe even a bit off, but that's what I love about him. His smile warmed my heart. Just as he promised my father, he's been kind and attentive to me, and he listens when I talk. Even when Susan and Jessica kept coming to our house, he stood firm and protected me. After they were arrested, we moved into a small apartment and finally started living our married life together. Now we're enjoying our newlywed life. I no longer call my adoptive parents foster parents. I call them my real mom and dad. I want to give back the love they've shown me, little by little. I'm truly grateful for the happiness I have now.